If you've ever blown a trading account or suffered from extreme drawdown, the reason for this is your risk management. Risk management is the number one reason why you see huge fluctuations on your trading balance, but it's also the reason why professional traders are able to flatten their losses, smooth their equity curve, and achieve longevity in this game. In this video, I'm going to tackle the topic of risk management and money management, what it is, why it's important, and give you an example of how to do it, a risk management strategy that I personally use, and I'll give you examples of actual demo trades that I've taken without and what it would look like with risk management. So what is risk management? Risk management is essentially being able to identify and assess the potential risks to your account and being able to mitigate them while trading. The aim of risk management is to being able to minimize your losses whilst maximizing your wins. What you're essentially doing is defining the amount of risk that you're willing to place into a trade using a set stop loss distance and calculating how much lot size position you'll be able to incur within that specific distance to incur the defined risk that you're willing to take on. You will be able to streamline the amount of risks that you're placing within each trade depending on the current state of your account balance. Now, why is risk management important? Well, it essentially mitigates the potential of taking unnecessary drawdown on your account. And this could be mostly from emotional actions that are taken in the market. So, things like overtrading, over-leveraging, revenge trading. All of these things within your rule set of your trading model, it becomes streamlined and more organized within a suitable risk management strategy. You won't see as much fluctuation on your account because you're bearing in mind the potential of your future trades being a loss. So you'll be able to flatten your equity curve. When successful traders are trading, they are keeping in mind that they need to protect their capital. It's all about capital preservation. Now, in terms of how to actually manage your risk, this is all dependent on the standing of your account. Whether you just started, whether you're in drawdown, or whether you're in profit. The amount of risk that you're willing to incur in these different stages of your account balance is what's going to determine your risk per trade. Now, it's extremely important that you use a stop loss within your trading. A lot of people will tend to not use a lot of new traders won't use a stop loss at all. And if not, they'll remove it in the hopes that price will reverse on their position and take them into break even or profit. But the problem is that when your stop loss is removed, you're going to allow so much drawdown on your account that it's going to be close to impossible to climb out of, at least not within a short period of time. So having a stop loss is really important. You're paying it to be there, essentially. You're paying it a cost to stop your account from having unnecessary drawdown. The way I like to think about placing a stop loss is, if I put my stop loss in a certain place, would I be extremely surprised if price was to move against me and take me out and hit the stop loss? Because if it's anything less than extremely surprised, then you most likely you've placed it in the wrong place, or you're just offside in the market. So I'm just going to talk now about my own risk management strategy and what I use while I'm trading. It is essentially three separate stages within my account, and this is a very basic trading risk management strategy. I know there are more advanced ones out there which are taught by other people, but I think just to keep it simple, I'll talk about my one, which I think is very simple. So there's essentially 3 stages that your account could be in. It could be in break even, it could be in drawdown, or it could be in profit. Now, when you're at break even, my advice to new traders would be to risk 0.5% of your account. Now, why do I say that? Some people might think that because your account's positive and that you've not incurred any loss, it's okay to risk 1% or 2% or maybe even more. I believe anything more than 0.5% or even 1% is way too much to be risking, because what I'm doing is I'm keeping in mind about my future trades potentially being a loss. Now, you might be wondering, when do you actually get to a stage where you can increase the risk? A lot of these prop firm challenges, they tend to allow you to have up to 10% maximum drawdown on your account. So what this doesn't mean is you shouldn't be risking 10% of your account, because you're essentially gambling the whole account on one trade. What you're essentially doing is using this account amount that you have and dividing it amongst as many trades as you can, whilst also still being able to make a profit from it. So when you start off with your account at break even, you're going to risk 0.5%. And then what you want to do is you want to build a little buffer, a little cushion on your account. And what I say to people is usually 2, maybe 3%. Once you reach that stage, that is when you'll be able to up the risk to potentially 1%. And depending on the setup, maybe more. I wouldn't advise to go above 1%. Some advanced traders who know their setup inside out know when to use 1%, 2%. Now, it's completely different for when your account is in drawdown, because when you incur a loss, your account's now underbalanced. You see your amount slightly less than the break even, so it starts playing with your head emotionally. Now, because we have a risk management system, you won't be tempted to make these emotional trades, because when you look back on your system and realise that you took a trade out of emotion, then you're not going to be happy with yourself. So when your account is in drawdown, what you want to be doing is halving your risk to 0.25%. Now again, you might say this is not enough, it's not enough to get out of drawdown. Well, for the people that are risking more than that, they clearly got very lucky when they risked more than 0.25% and their trade happened to be a winner. However, what happens if your trade's a loser? Then you've dug yourself a deeper hole then, haven't you? So remember that capital preservation is the key. Remember when I said that with the amount of capital that we have in our account, we're dividing it into certain chunks to risk per trade. At break even, it was 0.5%. Now, if you're in drawdown, you'll essentially be dividing it even further to even smaller chunks to risk per trade. Now, to put it into a context of a prop firm challenge, or if you're willing to incur a certain percentage drawdown of 10%, then risking 0.5% every single time will mean that you need to lose, 20 trades in a row to be able to lose the whole account. Cutting it down to 0.25% per trade will mean that you need to lose 40 trades in a row to lose your account. Now, if you have a trading model that works, then this is going to be borderline impossible for you to lose your account and incur 40 losses in a row. So this is what I call crawling risk, 0.25%, because you're going to be crawling out of drawdown. And when you eventually get back out of drawdown, up to break even again, that's when you can start using 0.5% again. This risk management strategy works for trading strategies that have 60% win rate, 50% win rate, sometimes even a 40% win rate, depending on what trades are taken. Because if you're able to see how the declines are mitigated and minimized, you'll be able to see profits and coming out of drawdown sooner. You'll be taking on less emotional toll and stress from being less likely in drawdown and coming out of it more quicker.
Alright guys, so I've just switched over to my computer now and I'm going to give you a bit of a graphic depiction of what I mean by my risk management strategy. So if I just draw just an equity curve graph, the basic one, this is what I do in my risk management. So you've got your balance on the y-axis and you've got your number of trades or a time period between trades on your x-axis. Now at this initial starting point, you'll have your initial balance. Anything below this will be drawdown, anything above this will be in profit. So when I initially trade from initial balance, I'd be risking 0.5% each time. I'll just make it blue. Okay, so 0.5% each time until when you'd reach a stage of, in your account, maybe 3% or 2%. So if I just write 3%, and then only then, once I'd get above this 3%, I could start risking more. However, when you're below the initial balance, you'll be in drawdown. And this is where I'd use 0.25%. So essentially, instead of your graph going, up and down crazily like this, not very nice, you'd want something that goes like this. So you could initially be in profit, and you could take a loss and a few strings of losses. And then instead of putting yourself in more drawdown down here, if you did take a loss, for example, you'd only cut that in half, so it would be around here. And then you slowly climb your way back out, however long that takes, and then you can risk 0.5% again, so then you can, whatever happens, you'll go higher. So I hope that makes sense. So then, yeah, essentially when you do get to above 3%, then your balance will then either start shooting up or just come back down to 3% or 2% again. That's fine, because this will be the cushion or the buffer. Now, in the context of prop firm accounts, you'd have a max drawdown of, let's say, I don't know, like 10%. Usually with all these prop firms it's 10%. So essentially what that means is you'd have to lose 40 trades in a row to get to 10%, because 10% divided into quarters, that's 40 trades. Now I'm going to show you the demo trades I was actually taking on my accounts. So these are actual demo trades I took on TradingView for a period of time in 2023, and this goes to show what happens when you don't obey risk management. Now, I'm not actually too sure what my win rate was at the current time, but I was obviously practicing my own trading strategy through demo trading. And essentially, as you can see, from the initial balance of 150k on demo, it slowly went up, and then there was a huge spike down. Now I did make this a bit more dramatic than it should have been by I just increased the scale on the left side, because as you can see it only went down to 148.5k. So this was mainly caused by these set of trades here. Now you can see that these strings of losses kept increasing, and that's essentially what caused it to go, take a beating. And then eventually afterwards, once I started reducing my risk further, eventually I was able to claw myself out of the drawdown up to here, back above the initial balance. So, there's a term in the UK where we call it the dog's work. It's essentially the hard work of getting yourself either above the account to an account buffer or cushion, or getting yourself out of drawdown, which I think that's what determines the skill of a trader. How well you're willing to control your risk management to claw yourself out of drawdown. Because obviously when I was taking these trades, it wasn't using risk management, and in all honesty I can't actually remember why I decided to increase the lot size. It most likely was over leveraging to try and revenge myself back out of taking losses, but you can see what happens when you decide to over leverage. You take a big beating. So now I'm going to show you another graph of what happens when you actually do control the losses that you take. So using the exact same demo trades and the exact same results and the exact same win rate and risk to reward ratio, this is what happened to the account. Once I built it up slowly, and I took those same string of losses around here, these ones here, look what happens when I actually control the risk. Now, this wasn't even cutting it down even further, it was just keeping it at the exact same. But look at that, look at this spike down in comparison to the initial one. If I just put the graph side by side, now I'm sure you could tell me which equity curve would you rather have, this one or this one. Now everyone should be saying this one, because this is what happens when you control the losses, when you take into account the future by preserving your capital. Now this account didn't actually go into drawdown, but this is what happens when you don't actually, risk more than you should. Because at this point, I could have easily increased the leverage. I could have easily risked more to 1%. But look what would have happened if I increased it. I would have got something like this instead of something like this. Now there are more advanced risk management strategies out there where you take into account your next trade being a loss, and then slowly building yourself back up to a certain win streak and then resetting again. These are more advanced, and if you actually want this, if you want a more advanced risk management strategy, then I can leave a link to ICT's channel where he talks about money management. But essentially the point I'm trying to make is, by having risk management, you can stop yourself from having big drawdown curves like this and reducing it. Because look, I would have had to look at the amount of time, look at the amount of trades it's taken me to get back out of drawdown here. Whereas if I controlled it like this, in the same number of trades, I would have been in massive profit. Supposedly, this is just demo, but You can see the difference. The same exact trades, but projected differently with this with controlled risk.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found it useful. I hope you have more insight now into why risk management is so important. Like I said at the start of the video, it's the number one reason why people blow their accounts or suffer extreme drawdown. But then it's also the reason why the successful traders are able to mitigate their losses, flatten their drawdown, and have a better equity curve. If you keep things organized and structured whilst obeying your rules, then you'll also be a master of preserving your capital and having profitable success. You could have someone with a 40% win strategy, but if they have amazing, immaculate risk management, then they'll also be successful. Like I said before, I'll leave a link to ICT's video on money management that works. This has a bit more of a advanced risk management strategy, which might be worth taking a look at. So I'll leave that in the description below. It's from his Market Maker Primer course called Money Management That Works. I'll also leave my Instagram, where I'll update everyone on my own trading journey and post about prop firm challenges and what's happening in my own trades that I take. And then also my Discord community, where we host weekly calls and talk about different trading topics. Whether you're into crypto, indices, forex, whatever, please join. And if you want to talk to other people about their own insight and what they think is happening in the market, then join that. I'll leave it in the description below again. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video.